Have you ever heard of children who never saw their father's face, who were handed a rope-tied box, a worn coat, and placed on a train, told, "This is your new home now"? These stories aren't written in books. They aren't taught in schools. We're bringing back the voices that were once silenced. Megaphones, so don't just subscribe to this channel, embrace it, because every video here is a heartbeat of a childhood forgotten. The boy stood barefoot on the edge of the cracked wooden platform, toes curled over the lip, like he might fall forward or never move again. His hair was coal-dark and uncombed, pressed down by sleep or grief or both. His face did not twitch. His eyes didn't blink. The conductor, heavy with heat and breath, tapped his shoulder. "Time, son." The boy didn't speak. He didn't nod. He only turned his head toward the white steam hissing from the engine and the empty space where she had been. Children surrounded him, thin, restless, blinking slow from behind threadbare coats. They clung to whatever they had left, a shoelace, a doll's head, a broken button looped through twine. Their small sounds, whimpering, coughing, murmuring, were swallowed by the wind and the metal breath of the train. Behind the veil of steam, a woman in blue walked away. She didn't turn back. No wave. No final glance. Just the flutter of her sleeve. Then nothing. The train coughed, deep and rough, like it was waking from something it never wanted to dream. The boy climbed aboard. Inside, the benches were wood and iron, slick with worn varnish and the touch of 100 forgotten hands. He moved down the aisle, choosing a seat near the back where the windows rattled more and no one talked too much. He sat beside a red-haired girl. Her feet swung above the floor, dirty and bare. She clutched a bent spoon, worn smooth by fingers not her own. She held it like it was sacred, like it could still feed her. Across the aisle, two brothers scuffled over a crushed felt hat with no brim. The older one struck the younger across the cheek, then shoved the hat into his own coat. The boy turned to the girl. Her face was pale beneath a film of dust, her hair matted behind her ears. She stared forward, unmoving. "She'd die?" he asked, nodding at the spoon. The girl didn't answer. Her fingers only gripped it tighter. The train rattled on. Out the window, fields blurred into one another, mud, frost, smoke rising from unseen chimneys. A church steeple. A scarecrow bent backward in a field. Then more cold, flat ground. Night fell before they reached Nebraska. The boy didn't sleep. Most didn't. The seats were hard, and the air too still. He listened to the breath of the others, the creak of the wheels, the long, mournful sigh of the whistle. A baby cried softly, and then stopped, not comforted, just tired. The train slowed near a water tower, the brakes screaming low against the cold. A man climbed aboard as they refueled, thin, sharp-eyed, and smelling of whiskey and river mud. His coat hung crooked over one shoulder. His tie was barely knotted, drifting like a tongue. He walked the aisle with a limp. "Which of y'all can read?" he said, voice dry as coal smoke. Hands rose. Not many. The boy didn't lift his. He watched the man's boots, caked in mud, cracked around the toes, one sole half separated. The man looked at the girl beside him, saw the spoon, and moved on. The train jolted forward again. Morning brought another town, smaller than the last, with buildings that leaned together like old men. At the station, a farmer in a dark coat and his wife in a bonnet too tight around her face climbed on board. They nodded, murmured to the conductor. Two sisters were taken. The older was maybe 10, her arm wrapped around the smaller one like bark around sapwood. They walked with their heads bowed, like they'd been taught not to ask for anything. As they stepped off, the younger turned back. In the frosted window, she pressed her lips close and exhaled. Fog bloomed against the glass. She raised a finger and drew something, a heart, or maybe just a curve, but it vanished before the train began to move again. The boy didn't look away until she was gone. Later, he picked at the bench with his thumbnail. The wood flaked off slowly. He dug deeper, making a shape, carving with small, sharp movements. He scratched a name into the seat, Maria. Each letter took time. He didn't rush. His thumb bled at the edge, but he kept going until the last stroke was done. The girl beside him still didn't speak. He leaned his head back and closed his eyes, not to sleep but to see. Through smoke, through through time, through the air between now and the last moment that mattered. The train gave a long, deep whistle, not for arrival, not for warning, for morning. Dry plains, wind that cuts through bark. The train doesn't stop long. Just enough time for boots to find dust and for deals to be made. A man with a sheriff's badge, the rust creeping toward the star's center, stands beside a woman with hair like twine and hands like winter branches. We'll take the quiet one. The boy steps forward, holding nothing. No sack. No goodbye. Just the clothes given to him 3 stops back. What's your name? They call me Lucky. The couple glance at each other. Not surprised. Not impressed. Just tired. Lucky it is. The wagon ride to the house is long. The wheels creak with the weight of a silence none of them try to break. The house leans left, like it's whispering to the dry earth beneath it. One rocking chair sits on the porch, slowly moving with the wind. A cracked mirror in the hallway, warped so badly it makes people look like memories. A goat in the yard watches the boy too long. Doesn't blink. The man shows him the barn. You'll sleep here. Lucky nods. It's not a punishment. It feels like the right place. Nights are quieter than graves. No owls. No coyotes. Just wind and wood. The straw itches. The smell is heavy, sweet and sour like old things that never left. Breakfast is eggs when the hens allow. Black coffee he's not allowed to touch. Dry bread that breaks in half before the teeth do the job. The woman doesn't speak much. Her apron is always wet. Not from tears, from work. One day she calls from the porch. Wash up, Lucky. Her back is turned. Her shoulders don't move when she speaks. He goes to the pump. The water is colder than it should be. Inside, the table is set for 2. They add a third place. But the chair is older, wobblier. The fork is bent. No one talks while eating. Only the sound of chewing and cutlery on tin. The man reads the paper afterward. Not out loud. Lucky hears laughter from the next farm over. Real soft. It floats across the fields like smoke. It's not meant for him. Rain comes. The roof leaks directly into his boots. He doesn't move them. Watches as the water collects. It takes hours to fill the toes. He dreams of his mother brushing flour off her hands, humming something from nowhere. Her face turns when he wakes. Always too soon. The chair creaks at night. No one sits in it. Still it rocks. The man never yells. He doesn't have to. His silence follows Lucky like a shadow. The woman hums once. Just once. Then never again. The goat dies in the cold. Lucky finds it stiff near the fence. The man digs the hole. The boy watches. They don't speak. Later, a neighbor rides up, brings peaches in a glass jar sealed with wax. Asks about the boy. He's quiet. The neighbor looks at Lucky. Quiet kids carry ghosts. The man's eye twitches. He doesn't answer. Lucky stares at the peaches. Bright gold behind the glass. Some are trapped in syrup. He doesn't ask for any. Doesn't blink. The jar stays on the shelf for weeks, untouched, like something too alive to disturb. Winter splits fences like old teeth. Wind howls through the gaps in the boards like it's searching for something it lost. Lucky walks 2 miles to the schoolhouse. No mittens. Coat too small. Boots stiff with frost. The teacher meets him at the door. A young woman with fingers stained by chalk and paper cuts. Her eyes look past him before settling on his face. Sit there, she says, pointing. Behind Marybelle. Marybelle has no shoes. Her toes peek out from the hem of a skirt that's too thin for the season. She draws on it with charcoal, circles, spirals, waves. She doesn't look at him when she speaks. Your eyes are smoke. Your voice is gray. Your name is dust. He doesn't answer. She turns her head, studies him with the quiet intensity of someone who's seen too much and still wants to see more. After minutes pass, he says just one thing. I remember blue. Marybelle stops drawing. The charcoal smudges under her fingertips. Your mama. He nods once. Barely. Every lunch. She gives him half her bread. Crust broken with fingers, not knives. No butter. Just warmth shared like a secret. She hums sometimes. Tunes not taught in books. One day she gives none. She didn't come. The teacher, eyes tired from more than just a cold, says one word: pneumonia. Lucky doesn't ask for more. The desk in front of him stays empty. The drawings on her skirt fade slowly, with time and movement. The teacher coughs into her handkerchief. Leaves red behind. Weeks pass. New children arrive, pale, hollow-eyed, smelling of train soot and strangers. They sit where others used to. The room never feels full. Lucky never speaks again at school. At home, the goat dies. The second one. The last. They bury it behind the barn. The earth hard as iron. The woman kneels at the grave. Her lips move, but no sound comes out. Lucky watches from the steps. Doesn't interrupt. He wouldn't know what to say. That night, when sleep doesn't come easy, Lucky sees blue behind his eyes. Not sky. Not river. Cloth. Moving. His mother, back turned. Turning just enough to show part of her face. The softness of her cheek. The angle of her jaw. The look that held him once without speaking. He cannot remember her voice. Only her face. He goes outside before dawn. Draws her in the dirt behind the barn. Soft lines with a stick. Tries to remember her eyes. The wind steals it before he finishes. He doesn't try again. From the porch, the man watches. A tin cup in one hand. Rifle leaning against the wall behind him. You got her eyes, boy. Lucky doesn't answer. The rocking chair creaks once and goes still. He keeps her face alive by blinking slower. Years pass. Lucky is taller. His hands no longer tremble when holding a hammer or feeding the fire. The man falls from the roof while mending the shingles. Hits the ground like a tree felled mid-sentence. The woman doesn't cry. She brushes her apron and turns to Lucky. Fix the rail when you're done burying. He nods. The shovel cuts into hard clay. It resists, but he keeps going, steady. The wind is sharp, the earth unforgiving. Under his breath, he hums a tune. It comes out of nowhere. He doesn't know the name. Doesn't know when he first heard it. Only that it's his. He places the man in the ground without ceremony. Just dirt and sky and the smell of pine. In town, he sees a girl with red hair. She doesn't look at him. She's not her. But something in the way she tucks her hair behind her ear pulls him back to the train. A bent spoon. A seat by the window. Silence. He visits the station sometimes. Stands at the edge of the platform, just far enough to feel the heat of the engine when it comes near. He watches the trains go. Never boards. One winter morning, walking past the schoolhouse, he hears soft sobs behind the woodpile. A boy, maybe 6, curls into himself. His coat is threadbare, sleeves short, fingers red with cold. Lucky kneels. You got anyone? The boy shakes his head. Lucky shrugs off his coat, drapes it over the boy's shoulders. It swallows him. You hungry? The boy nods, barely. They walk together, slow. The wind bites at Lucky's arms. He doesn't flinch. People in town glance their way. That one's Lucky, someone whispers. He never talks much. At the edge of the road, the boy tugs on his sleeve. Why they call you that? Lucky stops. Looks out over the white fields. Because I remember her face. The boy tilts his head. Your mama. Lucky nods once. What did she look like? He closes his eyes. Doesn't speak. In the darkness, blue moves. Not sky. Not fabric. A woman, turning. Just enough for her face to catch the light. Eyes like dawn on a cold morning. Kind, even in their leaving. He opens his eyes. Smiles. The kind that doesn't need sound. Come on, he says. There's soup.